We're Mike and Joe, and this is the first of a 3-part series where we cycled 2,800 kilometres through Europe. We've already documented this journey via our vlogs, but this is a condensed version which will also cover how many kilometres we cycled per day, campgrounds we stayed at, food we ate, basic costs, and tips we learnt along the way. In this first episode, we start in England, where we cycle from Bournemouth to Pont and catch the ferry to Cherbourg in France. We then make our way south through the stunning countryside of Brittany, stopping at Mont-Saint-Michel and many medieval villages along the way. This is the first stage of our trip, where we caught the ferry from Pont to Cherbourg, then spent 2 weeks cycling to Angers. We had no set route to follow, so we just made it up as we went along. Catching the ferry with our bikes was a breeze. We cycled on board, tied them up in the dedicated cycle area, then relaxed on the boat for a 4.5-hour crossing.
Sitting on the ferry waiting to leave.
It's nice to relax in these comfy chairs.
So we get to Cherbourg at 2, and then we're not sure what we're doing, we're just going to play it by ear.
The ride out of Cherbourg dragged up a hill for a long way, and I pushed my bike up for most of it. I hadn't realised how cycle unfit I had become. Meanwhile, Mike zoomed away from me.
So finally made it out of Cherbourg. It was hard work, it was a big hill, big slog, and we're just so unfit.
Just a gentle slope.
We cycled on the roads for most of the day, with a fair bit of traffic. The French drivers are polite and patient, sometimes sitting behind us for a few minutes before they decide if it's safe to overtake or not. After 24 kilometres, we found a nice municipal camp for just €10 a night, close to the beach. A municipal campground is a community-run campground which is usually cheaper and quieter than normal campgrounds. These are our campground of choice. We thought we'd prepared so well for our cycle tour, having bought so much new stuff. New tent, sleeping bags, mats, chairs even. But we forgot the most important thing. The one thing you'll never find in French campsites. That's right, we forgot the toilet paper. Thankfully, the nice man at reception gave us a roll. We now have happy bums. It's common for French campgrounds to not have toilet paper or hand soap, so make sure you take your own. Once our camp was set up, we wandered off to find the Atlantic Ocean.
To see if we can find the sea and maybe a restaurant. And we found it, the Atlantic Ocean.
We found it after a short walk, and the ocean spread out in front of us. The sun was still high in the sky, but there would likely be a nice sunset later, and we made a plan to come back and watch it. There was no restaurant in town, so we resorted to packet pasta, but it was awful. Absolutely exhausted, we crawled into bed before dark, completely forgetting to capture the sunset. Good night. I woke up in the middle of the night, freezing. Our sleeping bags are only for warm nights. It didn't happen that I was hot when I went to bed and hadn't layered up. I won't make that mistake again. As a result, we slept in until about 9 a.m. Before coming on this trip, we'd ummed and ahed about our coffee situation. First, we'd planned to bring our portable Nespresso gadget, but decided at 500 grams it was way too heavy. Then we decided on a plunger, but it wouldn't fit in our panniers. So we had to resort to instant coffee. Taking my first sip this morning, I almost gagged. How can something so life-saving taste so disgusting? It might have been the brand we chose, or the foul-tasting water. We don't know. So at the first opportunity, we stopped at a restaurant for an espresso. Our coffee saviour was in a scenic seaside town of Dielet, just 4 kilometres from where we camped the previous night. As we sat outside enjoying our espressos, dark clouds rolled across, followed by some spots of rain. We scurried inside and stayed for lunch. They had more frites on the menu, so it would have been rude not to. We ploughed our way through a huge bucket of mussels, and an hour later the sun had come out again, and we headed on our way. There had been no shops since Cherbourg, and we desperately needed healthy food and a few necessities we left behind, such as things for our behinds. We cycled only 20 kilometres today, and stopped at another municipal camping ground. It's €12 for the night, and I think there's a pizza place nearby. We'll start our healthy eating tomorrow.
So Mike's made this fancy stick thing out of a walking pole, puts the brakes on, and then just props the bike up. because the kickstand's not strong enough to hold the bike, support the bike with all this stuff on it.
By the time we'd finished setting up camp, it was 7 p.m, and we took a stroll to the local pizza joint down the road.
Haven't seen a shop since we got here, so we've got no food to cook. We saw there was a pizza place near here, and we've just spotted it, and this is it. It's a 24-hour pizza place. It's a pizza vending machine. Can you believe it?
Touch any anarchist without the screen.
It's a bit sad, really, that we're in France, a place that's renowned for its food, and we're eating pizza from a vending machine. Good morning. This is day 3 of our cycle trip. Just woken up, freezing in the little tent. I'm just waiting for the sun to come up and warm it up a little bit. It's a bit chilly this morning, but I'm awake, so I'm just making a cup of tea. Mike's still in bed. The sun's just starting to peek its head over. Hopefully it should warm up soon. It was a little bit warmer in the tent last night, but then about 4 this morning it got really cold.
We'd only planned to do 35 kilometres today, but the numbers reversed themselves and we ended up doing 53. As well as that, Google and Mike's GPS were conspiring against us, sending us down gravel roads and through paddocks full of sheep. We continued on, cycling through quiet country lanes with very little traffic. Then Google started being mean to us. Mike had been having trouble with his Garmin GPS, so we were using Google to navigate. She sent us down a rutted gravel path. We noticed the walking signs, and the GR223 comes through here.
It's a walking track.
The GR223 is a 446 kilometre coastal walking trail, which goes from Honfleur to Mont-Saint-Michel.
But we don't really want the walking track, so I think we're going to go up this road here, which looks a bit better. It's an adventure. We'll see where we end up.
It would be a fantastic walk, but it's not so much fun heading off-road on fully loaded bikes. We sacked Google and used the Garmin instead, and it immediately sent us into a paddock.
It's like she sent us to a dead end. Trail down through there. I'm going to give it a go.
All I could think of was a YouTube video I'd watched where cycle tourists were picking ticks off each other, but we made it through tick-free and got back onto the main road. Mike gave the Garmin another chance to navigate us to a campground, but it took us to a camp that was closed.
So we found the camping ground, but it looks like it's closed. Nobody here, no signs out.
Okay, I guess that's not the Garmin's fault, but it was 4 p.m. and we were both shattered. Thankfully, it was only another 45 minutes to the next camp. We arrived in the town and were excited to see a butcher shop. I salivated at the thought of a juicy steak for dinner with a nice healthy salad. But the butcher was closed for a half day on Wednesday and there were no other shops here. By the time we set up camp and had showers, it was nearly 8 p.m. Mike rummaged around in our panniers looking for emergency rations. Like pulling a rabbit from a hat, he produced a packet of pasta and a tomato sauce. Meanwhile, I had a half-eaten camembert, which had melted in my bag. We ate it and all of its gooey goodness with a fork while we waited for the pasta to cook. We're camping by the sea again and considered watching the sunset, but it doesn't set until after 10 p.m, so we just went to bed.
Welcome to day 4 of our cycle trip down the Atlantic coast in France. We're just packing up and hopefully going to go find somewhere for coffee. So this is where we started from, Cherbourg, where we caught the ferry to, and we've cycled down here. We come down to here, we're coming down here, and this is where we are right now, Pirou. And then we're going to continue heading on down the coast to the Mont-Saint-Michel. We're going off the map. We're going to head down to Nantes, and then we're going to head across up the Loire Valley from there. Bit of a slow start this morning. By the time we got ourselves a coffee over there, and now to get a baguette. He's got his underpants out drying and his socks.
Today we cycled mostly along the coast and quiet country lanes with the occasional busy road thrown in to keep it interesting.
Alright, you know how I said the Garmin and Google are conspiring against us? They're doing it again today. They want to go up here on sand dunes with all this stuff. There's no way.
Mike got excited about cycling over a bridge he saw in the distance.
So it's the Rue de Pont de la Haroche. A pont is a bridge, and it went, I saw it in the distance. It went boom, 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 across the river.
From here it looks like it's broken. I don't know if you can see.
The bridge was indeed broken, and there was an interesting reason for this.
In 1944, the Allies destroyed this bridge, or 3 arches of the bridge, to stop the German retreat. And it took them 20 air raids to actually destroy it.
The mission, however, was unsuccessful because there was another bridge which wasn't destroyed.
Just going in search of camping. Apparently it's open. No shop, but there might be a restaurant here.
After 40 kilometres of cycling, we were both shattered and found a place to camp for just €11 a night. There's still no toilet paper, but they gave us some when we asked. We haven't had a decent meal in the 4 days we've been cycling, and I've been constantly hungry. Could be the reason for our tiredness as well, so we found a restaurant on the waterfront and had a decent sized meal. Mike had a 300-gram steak and I had 3 large lamb chops with chips and salad. It was an enormous meal and we ate it all.
Welcome to day 5 of our cycle tour. We're just leaving our camping ground and now we're just going to go find some coffee.
The day started with a quick espresso before continuing down the Atlantic coast. In the morning, we cycled along country lanes and through picturesque villages. We did our own thing today, ignoring both the Garmin and Mrs. Google, and ended up at a charming seaside town that had a shop that was open. We stocked up on a few essentials like sunscreen, lip balm, and Snickers bars. I'm still so hungry no matter how much I seem to eat. We cycled along the waterfront. The sea glistened a brilliant blue. Calm, not a breath of wind. After slogging up a steep hill, we came to a lookout over Granville.
A bit of walking up and down hills, but it's worth it for these views. It's beautiful. We just stopped off at this little viewpoint and look at this town over there.
Oh, wow.
The old town rose from the sea, proud and magnificent. We marvelled at the grandness of it. Then it started to rain. "Shall we get a hotel in town?" I said to Mike. "Sounds like a good idea." We cruised downhill to the town, looking forward to putting our feet up in a nice hotel room, maybe a bath to soak in. But when we arrived, the thought of carrying all our panniers to our rooms sounded like too much effort. I'm not a big fan of large towns either, so we had a quick bite to eat and rode on out of there. Thankfully we did, as we found a nice place to camp next to the beach. Rain and thunderstorms were forecast, and we needed to charge our devices and edit some videos. So we opted for a mobile home at the campground.
We decided to upgrade to a mobile home for the night. It's a little bit expensive, but it's going to rain and we just want a good night's sleep. I'll show you around.
It's a self-contained cabin with 2 bedrooms, a shower, a toilet and a full kitchen. We would have liked to have stayed 2 nights, but it's booked out for the long weekend here. We headed to the grocery store and bought some food to cook ourselves a decent dinner. We had steak with a pepper sauce, rice and a large salad. For dessert, we had yogurt and fresh strawberries. Nice and healthy. Then we polished off a bar of chocolate. But I'm still hungry! We had a cosy night in our little cabin the previous night. It thundered and rained and we were pleased to be snug in our mobile home. It was a wonderful start to the day, riding along the beachfront. The sun shining and the weather warm.
Welcome to day 6 of our cycle tour. What an absolutely beautiful morning. It was supposed to be raining and it's not. It's awesome.
It was one of those days where everything seemed perfect. Quiet country roads and amazing views. We stopped for lunch overlooking Mont-Saint-Michel, which is a monastery built on an island. We made ourselves a healthy lunch of lettuce, cucumber, strawberries, eggs and Parma ham. It was delicious, almost better than a restaurant. In the afternoon, my knee started playing up. I've had problems with it before, and I think it's due to overuse. I tried pedalling with just the other leg, but the circular action was still causing pain. But I had no problem walking on it. We found a table and chairs overlooking the monastery, and I was able to rest my knee and give the muscles around it a good massage. They were extremely tight, and I think this is probably the problem. We hopped back on our bikes and the massage seemed to have helped. My knee wasn't anywhere near as sore. We passed a lot of pilgrims today, probably walking to the monastery.
Just when we think we're all alone in the world, it's like a pilgrimage going on. Look at all these people, all walking to Mont-Saint-Michel.
It's a long weekend here and also a religious weekend, so it's going to be busy. We cycled 51 kilometres today and are at the campground closest to Mont-Saint-Michel. Thunder is rumbling all around and the skies are very black. All the restaurants were booked out and we had to wait until 8 p.m. to get a meal. We both had a burger and chips, too tired to bother cooking a meal. So we've just set up camp at Mont-Saint-Michel. Thunder is rumbling over there, big dark clouds. We're just hiding under our tent, under our shelter, just waiting for it to come. I don't know if you can see over there, but it's very dark. Here's our shelter. We'll probably stay at this campground for 2 nights to have a rest. We'll go and visit the monastery tomorrow. We got up early and walked 2 kilometres to Mont-Saint-Michel, which is a monastery in the middle of the sea. It was shrouded in mist this morning and the skies threatened us with rain.
It's a 30-minute walk from where we're camping.
Narrow streets led us to a cafe serving coffee and crepes. We ordered our usual espresso, followed by crêpe de pomme compote, which is basically stewed apple on a pancake. Refreshed and caffeinated, we meandered through winding staircases dating back to 957. At the top, we looked out over mudflats, where we saw a group of walkers making their way across the alternate route. They appeared to be stranded. The walk across the mudflats must only be attempted with a guide, as a false move will have you sinking in the sand, or the tide coming in and sweeping you out to sea. We continued around the old monastery, and Mike pointed out holes where the defenders might have poured hot oil down over attackers.
And up there, you've got little holes where archers would fire their arrows out.
There are a few hotels on the island, and some people actually live in the village. As we made our way down, we noticed the people trying to walk across the mudflats were still in the same place, apparently struggling to know which way to go.
At the moment, these people are on their half tide. Low tide was at 6 o'clock this morning, high tide's at 11:30, and it's now 9:30. So if they're not careful, they're going to get caught there because that tide comes in quickly.
In the other direction, the bridge we had walked across earlier had hordes of people walking towards the monastery. We were glad we'd started early and avoided the masses. As we walked back towards camp, we noticed the people who had been stranded wading through the incoming tide, thankfully making it to safety. The rain that had threatened all day didn't come. We'll be back on our bikes tomorrow, hoping the rain stays away. The previous evening we crawled into our tent at 10 p.m, and not long after, the rain we'd been expecting for days finally came, loud and heavy. I ignored the thought of packing up a wet tent and willed myself to sleep. We awoke at 6 a.m. to glorious sunshine, headed to the monastery for a quick photo, some drone footage, then packed up our wet tent and we were on our way.
Welcome to day 8 of our cycle tour. We're heading down to a little town called Fougères. And you stop and you look back over there, where we've just come from this morning.
The roads today were long and boring, and my knees still playing up.
Seems to be a little bit of a drag today and just taking it slow. I'm not sure if I mentioned, but I had knee problems the other day, and then a day's rest seemed to have helped, but it's just starting to niggle again. I'm a bit scared of pushing it too hard, because a knee injury could just end our trip.
After 43 kilometres, we made it to the scenic town of Fougères and booked into a hotel for 2 nights.
We're just having a rest day in the town of Fougères.
And the name of Fougères is named after the fern from the valleys.
We're going to take a look around and you guys are invited.
Fougères is very old, with signs of habitation dating back to 5000 BC. It sits at the crossroads of 2 Roman roads. This is the remains of the medieval part of town. It was destroyed in the 18th century by fires, and then in the 20th century they pulled some of the old buildings out to widen the roads. This is the St. Leonard Church, which was built in the 14th century and has the oldest stained glass window in Brittany.
The Between the 14th and the 17th centuries, the town was sacked and destroyed several times with great massacres as the Britons from Brittany and the Normans from Normandy tried to take control of the area.
There's also a chateau here, which we viewed from a distance. After the tour, a handsome French man took me into a little room, closed the curtain, and asked me to take my pants down. Okay, it's not as dodgy as it sounds. The pharmacist was getting me to try on a knee brace for size, so I bought the knee brace and some anti-inflammatory gel, and I hope this will help. We spent the rest of the day resting, hoping to get back on the bikes tomorrow. We spent a lovely 2 nights in Fougères and felt really rested. As we cycled out of town, I stopped to give way to a car on a roundabout. The car behind me screeched his brakes and almost ran into me. Then he tooted, telling me to go. I yelled at him, "C'est la voiture," and pointed at the car. Actually, I yelled, "There's a car," but he wouldn't have listened either way. The morning was a drag. The road was busy and we had a headwind. It was one of those days where you put your head down and just want to get there. We were heading towards rain clouds.
So, how I mentioned we're heading towards those rain clouds earlier, there is actually 100% chance of rain today, according to these cows in the paddock over here. We're just cycling into the town of Vitrè, and we just seen the chateau on our left. Man, this place is amazing. Vitrè. Oh, look at the wonky building, Mike.
It's like my buildings.
That's very cool. And there's the chateau there that we saw from just up the hill.
We fueled up on a pain raisin and hamburguette before heading to our campground. When we set up camp, we set up our awning with enough space to sit under if it rained. Thankfully we did, as it started raining as we were cooking dinner. Tonight we had bacon and rice, followed by blueberries and chocolate for dessert.
Today was an interesting day. We had planned to go to Chateaubriand, which was 53 kilometres away. But Google started sending us down a main road. We had big trucks barreling past, no shoulder to cycle on, and after about 15 minutes of agonising cycling, I told Mike I would not be following this for the next 53 kilometres. I found a route on my phone which would take us off the main road. As we turned off, Mike noticed a dead end sign. We cycled along a nice tarmac surface with no other traffic about. Then the road turned to dirt, and we were suddenly cycling through somebody's farm. I thought, here we go, dead end ahead. I stopped to take a photo of some horses in the paddock when I noticed up ahead that Mike had been pulled over by a man on a tractor. We've just got off the main road because Google's routing us off because it's a horrible main road, no shoulder, trucks barreling past, and now a man's told us we can't go this way. The man on the tractor told us we couldn't go through a little 200 metre section that was private. We thought, well, we're not turning around and going back to that main road, so we're going to ask a couple of other men. And they goes, yeah, just go on through, that's fine. So it was lucky, because the only other choice was that main road again. I'll push my bike through fields of ticks rather than go back on that main road. Having a rough job today, trying to find out where we're going. Started heading towards Chateaubriand, and there was a main road, big trucks. We thought, nope, not heading there now. We're just heading to a campground that's on what looks to be the most minor roads we can find. It was one of those days where Google kept trying to send us back on the main road, and we kept fighting back. We decided to give up navigating to Chateaubriand and navigate to a campground in the general direction we were heading. Just to be sure we're going the right way, Mike navigated on his Garmin and I navigated on my phone. This is where the problems began. Mike's Garmin would want to turn us left, but mine would want to go straight ahead. Then mine wanted to go right, while Mike's wanted to go left. Not only were we fighting with the gadgets, we were now fighting amongst ourselves. Our phones had turned us against each other. A few terse words backwards and forwards, and we found solace on the church steps. We sat down for a break, ate our quiche Lorraines, and regrouped. Relaxed and well fed, or fed up, we took another look where we wanted to go. It turned out we were both navigating to different campgrounds. We decided to go to my campground, but after 10 kilometres it told us to turn right. No longer trusting Google, we stopped and checked. Just as well we did, as it was trying to send us back onto that stupid main road. We ignored Google again and went straight ahead, and were transported into a stunning medieval town. Why would Google want us to miss this? Little wonky buildings here, I love them, they're so cool. And look, there's one for sale. Draw up a mic. We sat and marvelled at the wonky, chocolate-rippled buildings. There was a campground about 20 minutes right away, but it was only 1 p.m, and we decided it was too early to stop. We continued looking for a route south, but all roads led to that dreaded main road. By this stage I was feeling exhausted and felt like an afternoon nap. Mike was getting grumpy because he wanted to keep moving. After about an hour of procrastinating in this picturesque town, the bakery opened and I bought us a couple of pastries. These were like the elixir of life, giving us the boost we needed to make a decision. So we're giving up trying to navigate where we originally planned to navigate to today, and we're just going to a little campground not far from that lovely little town we were just at. And apparently it's open all year round, so should be good. I think we're just almost here. Good morning and welcome to day 12 of our cycle tour. Camping this lovely little spot which we thought was going to be so quiet, but the church next door just kept donging every hour and every half hour all through the night. It donged for what time it was, so at midnight there was like 12 dongs. And then the frogs had a party down at the pond there. Geez, they made a racket. Might slept through all of this, trying to pack up before it rains. So just starting off on day 12, we're hoping to avoid the main roads today. It just started to rain just as we're ready to pack up our tent, but it stopped again. But it's a bit of a gloomy day. Hopefully it won't be too hot.
Due to the frogs partying and the church bells donging, we had a late start today, getting away about 10:30 a.m. The roads today were quiet country lanes, with very little traffic. It was a perfect day for cycling, overcast and not too hot.
Where to now?
We're just making sure we don't go on those main roads today, so we're double checking everything.
We were still trying to head to Nantes, but the gadgets still want to send us on the main roads.
So we've given up trying to get to Nantes. It just seemed like every road to get there seemed to be going on main roads. And we know there's a canal that comes down from Brest to Nantes, a canal path. Because we went to a campground last night that was more east than south, we would have been backtracking to southwest, and we actually want to go southeast, so I decided just to head towards Angers instead, or in that the general direction, and pick up the Loire Valley, follows the river all the way to Switzerland. It's basically what we want to do.
So we changed our route to navigate to a campground on the way to Angers. There were no shops on the way today. We were feeling very pleased with ourselves, managing to avoid main roads. We were navigating to a camping ground at the 43-kilometre mark for the day.
I start to get a bit worried now every time I head to a campground at the end of the day that it's going to be closed. And this one actually seems to be in the middle of nowhere. Don't know what we'll do. We're pretty tired. Keep on going, I guess. This place looks dead. Not holding up much hope for camping. It's freaking closed, isn't it, by the looks of it? Ferme, shut.
This is starting to become a thing. The nearest campground from there was another 37 kilometres on. As well as that, my knee, which had been fine for the last few days, was playing up again, and we hadn't had any lunch, and it was now 5 p.m. We scoffed some walnuts and peanuts and biltong, and that helped curb the hunger. We had a break while looking at our options. After about an hour of researching where to stay, Mike found a chambre d'hôte, which is a B&B, about 7 kilometres in the direction we were heading. I put some anti-inflammatory gel on my knee and donned my knee brace, and we're on our way. Thankfully there was a shop on the way, and I was able to pick us up some ready-made salads for dinner and some ham for Mike to have with his baguette, as a salad won't fill him up. We arrived at the Chambre d'Hôte, and it's a magnificent old farmhouse on a working farm.
So we made it to our Chambre d'Hôte. It's basically on somebody's farm. Little patio here for our bikes, somewhere to sit and eat our dinner. Cook our dinner if we want to. This is our room. And we have our own bathroom too.
Tomorrow we head to Angers for a 2-day break.
Welcome to day 13 of our cycle ride. We had a lovely night's stay at that Chambre d'Hôte, which is like a B&B. Lovely breakfast, the French way, with a coffee and a bowl. Beautiful morning. Today we're heading to Angers, and we're going to stay 2 nights in a camping ground. Have a little rest.
The morning started out amazing. We picked up a nice flat cycle path. We had a map which showed the cycle routes all the way to Angers. But when we got to Serge, there was no signpost to say which way to go. So we double-checked our map, and there were no landmarks or roads on the map to know where we were supposed to turn. We followed the cycle path a bit further on, hopeful it might lead us south. But alas, it was heading north, so Mike had to resort to his Garmin to get us there. It worked out okay in the end, as we followed quiet roads and they were mostly flat. In the afternoon it got very hot and humid, but we slogged away, knowing that we had 2 rest days coming up. We've booked into a chalet in the campground, so we have power and our own bathroom and cooking facilities.
Kitchen diner. So we've got microwave, cupboards, sink, full sink, 2 gas burner, dining table, your settee, bedroom, and bathroom. Oh, sink and toilet. Clothes area.
We walked 30 minutes to the nearest supermarket and stocked up on healthy supplies for the next few days, as it's Sunday tomorrow and all the shops will be shut.
Morning and welcome to day 14. Taking a break today off the bikes, taking a walk into Angers.
Angers.
It's spelt Angers in English, but it's pronounced Angers. And just over there is Angers Old Town, and we're going there now. It's rather imposing, doesn't it?
Try imagine attacking this tower, and out the little slit holes are arrows coming down on you.
So we're just going to go take a look around the chateau.
Come
with
on.
us. Come on, yeah. So it was €9.50 each to get in. We were splashing out.
So that's the tour of the chateau done. Now the old town. The house behind us is celebrated for its complexity and the carvings of it. Just have a close look.
We really need to stop coming to Decathlon. I don't know how that got to be €91 already.
We spent the rest of the day just chilling out at our chalet and just relaxing. If you'd like to see our full vlogs from this trip, I'll put a link to the playlist down below in the description. Thanks for watching. Join us for our next episode where we follow the Eurovelo 6 along the Loire Valley from Angers to Mulhouse.